nice watches, good thinking, this is a striking mixture. And so in this video I'm going to recommend you 4 beautiful watches between entry level and high end, and I'm going to present you 3 books that may enhance your view of the world. View of the world. Yes, we have big plans here on Caseback, so let's do it. Welcome to Caseback Watches. My name is Tim. Let's complain a bit about the weather. It's terrible here since days, since weeks. And so I was in the mood to see something beautiful, to dress up a bit. And so focus here in this video is a bit more on dress watches than on tool watches. And due to the weather, I was forced to be inside and I could read a lot because this was one of my New Year's resolution. Number 1 was drink more old red wine, and number 2 was to read more books and less news. So I don't read anymore these breaking world news, but more books about the topics we have around us in these, let's say, difficult days. But now let's begin with our 4 watches you should have on your radar in 2023, because they are interesting, gorgeous, beautiful, and I could carry on counting the positives, but I will show you what I mean right now. I presented this fabulous piece here in February 2022 as a preview. And the first thing we notice here, of course, is the dial. And this watch comes in different colors. They sent me here the bluesy, the blue one, and you see those Côte de Genève, very beautiful, executed. Then they had massive problems with the delivery, but before Christmas the first batch arrived. And on a forum I've seen several buyers and everybody was happy with the look and the feel of this Genta-esque timepiece with a case diameter of 37mm and an integrated bracelet. The next batch now will come in 2023, and I'm more confident than ever to recommend the Manhattan because of the positive feedback. The watch costs 750 euros or around 700 US dollars without VAT, and for this amount you get something well made with the Swiss-made Ronda R150 inside. People sometimes see it as an homage to watches by Audemars Piguet or Patek Philippe, but I'm not that strict. It's a design which route was widely seen in the 70s and 80s from many manufacturers, and this is in my eyes a well-made take on that. And with this piece we're super early bird, only one little image on Instagram with 2 enamel dials. Before Christmas I had the first Vario Versa here, a reversible watch with 2 movements, 2 dials. It's a tank watch rooted in the 30s, bit chubby, but with the charm of a handsome baby. I gave it away for free and it went to Foster in Canada, and I think right now he's enjoying the originality of it. One dial is very conservative in the typical 30s design you see on many vintage watches, and the second dial comes with a bright color and the shiny structure of real enamel. Now Vario is up to version 2. It will be available in the second half of 2023, and I'm extremely curious and I will try to get one for a review. This is one of its kind. 47 zero dials are little pieces of art with a lot of handwork. Every dial is unique, like a drawing. Here, for example, you see Albert Einstein's asymmetric brain, partly skeletonized to see another machine behind it. And I must say, I just love the thinking and the guts to combine a genius brain with a genius mechanic of a Swiss-made movement. The dial has some positive insanity, but the other features of the watch are pretty conservative and robust. 40mm screw-down crown, 100 water resistance, and the Swiss-made STP 111 inside. Please note that I'm affiliated with the manufacturer with Cormac Hanley, and this watch will be available soon at casebackwatches.com. When you're determined to spend this year the big money on a grail watch, here's something for you, but you have to hunt it down. Tag Heuer has released the Carrera 60th anniversary in a limited edition of only 600 pieces. And interestingly, they reduced the watch to its key design features. It's a very pure version of the legendary timepiece from the 60s. I really like that they could withstand the temptation to overload it with scales and wording. The watch has a diameter of 39mm and is powered by the Heuer Caliber 02 with a power reserve of 80 hours. A classic look that really is targeting Tag Heuer aficionados and not necessarily the fashion world. The watch is worth 7,100 euros or 6,600 US dollars on the upper end of this manufacturer. But the limitation might protect the market value of the piece. Is that marketing? I'm afraid yes, but at least hand in hand with a convincing design. Okay, and now let's start with our book recommendations here. By the way, you will not find Amazon affiliate links in the description. I'm a bit tired of that somebody tells you buy that book and that I get a percentage. It's a bit too much advertising for my taste, so we will not find Amazon links, but you can Google these books in 2 seconds. And the first one I've already mentioned is Stop Reading the News by Rolf Dobelli. And this book, in short, he says it's not good for your mental health. It distracts you. You should read books about the recent topics in our world right now. So, for example, Russia, China, energy crisis, migration. You really should read something long and profound about these topics instead of consuming all these bits of information from every direction. And that's exactly what I did. And I asked myself, what's the most important topic here in Europe nowadays or today? And this is, of course, Russia. And so I read a book about Russia, about the German-Russian history, unfortunately only available in Germany. It's called the Deutsch-Russische Jahrhundert. You can translate this to German-Russian century. Very interesting, but unfortunately not available in English. But I did some research for you and found some amazing books about the topic. And one is written by the Russian journalist Mikhail Zygar. And it's called All the Kremlin's Men Inside the Court of Vladimir Putin. And I think it's very important to read books about countries from people who really know these countries. And Mikhail Zygar, I think he is Russian or is he Ukrainian, I'm not sure, but he's written a lot about Russia and knows the country. And this book was well received, very, very good critics, very good reviews. And so I think you will benefit from All the Kremlin's Men to get a bit more behind it. What really drives these people? What could come after Vladimir Putin? What made Putin powerful in the first place? So I really think this is a great book. I will read it myself after I finish this German one. And the second book, bit of the same approach here. I wanted to read about China, because we have, or let's be more precise about the conflict between China and the Western world. I think very important. And there is a great book out there in English, in German, and it's called Has China Won by Kishore Mahbubani. This is complicated to pronounce for me, very sorry. And he was the ambassador, in fact, of Singapore in Cambodia, Malaysia, United States, and he worked for the United Nations, so not exactly lightweight. And he takes the Chinese perspective, or let's say the Asian perspective, which is very unusual for me to read. First, I thought, wow, this is a piece of propaganda here, because he is so sweet to the Chinese, to be honest, and he's really capable to place him inside the Chinese thinking. And that was complete news to me. The perspective of ordinary Chinese people and the fact that they are relatively happy with their government, unheard of in the West, of course, because we think it's a dictatorship. It's cruel, it's oppressing, and I think it is all this, but China has a very strange view from their history, strange for us. And so this book here, Has China Won, really was an eye-opener for me, and so big recommendation. You need a bit of a thick skin to read it, because there's some bashing against the West inside this book. Definitely, absolutely, definitely. But I think it's important to read from time to time something that is not in your own bubble, because we all know what happens then. It's then an extremely boring debate with people who are living in their bubble. So big recommendation, Kishore Mahbubani. This was great, Kishore Mahbubani. I think this was better. Did China win? No, has China won? And the last book I've recommended, I think, a year or 2 years ago, and I have to recommend it again because it just fits the situation now 100%. And this is The Dictator's Handbook, written by this gentleman with a beautiful name, Bruce de Mesquita and Alastair Smith. The Dictator's Handbook. And these gentlemen observe and explain how dictatorships work. But not only dictatorships, how power work, how somebody can collect opinions and can collect majorities. How is that even possible? That you have somebody like dictators like Vladimir Putin, for example, and you think that's not in the interest of his people. Why do they follow him? And it's excellent explained in this book, The Dictator's Handbook. So big recommendation. You actually will understand modern politics with that book. I'm not kidding. It's really an eye-opener, and so absolutely a good recommendation for everybody who is tired of brief news but wants to understand the thinking behind these constructions, these dictatorships, and even Western policy. All right, these were my recommendations of books. I hope you found this interesting. And now let's carry on a bit with watches, all right? I have an interesting image to show you, and this comes from Robert, New York. And he writes, "Your sophisticated content is much appreciated." Thank you very much, Robert, for this. And he writes, "Then the attached photo of my Seiko King Samurai with a waffle dial was taken at my backyard fire pit with my BlackBerry key too." Yes, you read that correctly, a BlackBerry. I love this watch for its seriously capable specs, aggressive styling, and of course that textured dial. Yeah, I have to second that. I mean, this is a great image you've done there. Very with some tensions and some vibes in it. A great image. And by the way, if you want to share images here on the channel, feel free to use Caseback Watches at iCloud.com. And the best results you get when you make a horizontal picture because it fits the frame of the video better, okay? So if you want to share something, Caseback Watches at iCloud.com. Okay, and that's it for this video. In the next one, you will see again an in-depth review of a very fascinating timepiece. And as always, let me thank you now for your attention and see you next Friday.